Hey, I'm Michelle Maryk, the author of The Found Object Society, and this is One Final Twist.
Michelle, I'm super excited to be talking to you, Sherry and I, about this debut book, The Found
Thank you.
Object Society.
Ooh, pretty. I can hold up the final copy too. It's metallic.
Oh, that is
Oh,
cool. Yeah.
Sexy, right?
We want to talk about the genres
Yeah.
within this that this book
hmm
fits in. We both love how it's a completely original idea.
Oh, thank you.
We have and I will say this, the first chapter into it, I'm on the phone. Sherry, have you started this book yet? Oh my God, it's so sassy. I'm loving it. I don't know what's happening yet, but you need to get in on this. And so, before we get started with all of our questions, give
Yeah.
the readers or the watchers or whoever is checking us out the premise behind the Found Object Society.
Sure. The Found Object Society, it's a novel of speculative suspense, and it centers around a deeply troubled socialite who suffered a terrible family tragedy 20 years before, and she sort of filled that sadness with booze and sex and drugs ever since and lives with a lot of regret. And one night, Greta is leaving a gala in a big huff. She's driving out and she's driving drunk and she almost crashes into a tree. And because she's a very bad person. Um, and when she gets home, um, there's a peculiar blank white card that slides under her front door. And she opens the door and there's nobody there. And she has no idea who delivered it. And she kind of forgets about it. Then the next morning, um, she discovers a hidden QR code with her phone, and it's an invitation to the Found Object Society, which is a very secretive society where people spend exorbitant sums of money to hold an object and experience the death of the last person who touched it. Um, and these are called voyages, and they become increasingly addictive to this already addictive personality that Greta has. But somewhere along the way, she discovers that maybe there is a way for her to game the system and somehow go back and change the terrible thing that happened in her past. And that's about all I can say without sharing way too much. But it's a fun ride. I hope it's a fun ride. It takes all sorts of different points of view um and explores a lot of different themes and I had a blast writing it. So,
well, and we had a blast reading it.
oh
And,
good.
and you're right, it is really hard to talk to about without giving spoilers because,
Yeah.
I've told people that I've read this book and they've kind of asked me what happens. And first of all, I wasn't quite sure what genre it fit in. So I'm
hmm
glad that you said that because
Yeah.
it really fits in quite a few. And then also
Yes.
trying to explain what happens without really giving it away. So, how did you come up with this story?
Well, this, unlike other stories, like it truly was like I don't want to say like a bolt of lightning or like a bat to the head. I'm not really sure. Um, but one night I was hanging out by our wood stove. It was cold. I was having a glass of wine. There was probably a cat on my lap. And I'm scrolling through Instagram and I land on this ad, like an Etsy ad. And it was for like a 1920s martini glass. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty. And I thought, huh. I wonder what the original owner of that glass was like. And so I started picturing this flapper with like fabulous black bob and red lips and like saying stuff like, let's grind the corn, baby, and whatever sort of 1920s lingo they have. And then I was like, wow, what if she died while she was holding that glass? And geez, and if she died, where would that energy have gone? What if it went into the glass? What would happen? And just like literally the words found object came into my head. And and that's how it came to me. And I was in the middle of writing a different novel. And I was like, okay, I'll make a note of that. I'll get back to it. And then I, I was still working on the other one, and this kept on waking me up in the middle of the night. And I started thinking about the socialite character and all these other characters. And I was like, okay, I have to stop. I have to write this. So, um, April of 23, I started writing it, and I was done by the first week of August of 2023. And it was really cathartic and really fun. Yeah.
So
So that was that one.
this is your debut, though, right? Okay.
Yes, I've written two, well, three actually, three other novels, but this is the one that my agent and I decided to go, out on submission to publishing houses with first.
So speculative fiction, and this is we're back to this whole genre thing. Like
Yeah,
this book gets a little time travel, it gets a little thriller, it gets a little suspense. You even get like a little bit of dark fantasy in some of it. Like you're
a little sci-fi.
yeah, a
Yeah.
little sci-fi. Like it checks so many boxes. And so do you feel like knowing that you have these two other books and this is the one that you picked, do you feel like you've hit your stride in this genre?
Yeah, I mean, I love a lot of people might not know what speculative is just because it's kind of like, what? What does that even mean? But for those who are watching or listening, it's a big umbrella genre. And I actually just wrote a little article for Crime Reads about speculative fiction and some of my favorites. And to me, it covers a lot. The way I often think of speculative is things that aren't but could be, as opposed to like fantasy, like serious fantasy is like, riding unicorns or dragons or whatever. And it's like, that's maybe not going to happen. Um, but things that just touch right along, the possibility of reality. Um, but but yeah, I mean, I don't think I can write without at least a little supernatural something, and all my books have something in that realm. But you're right. I mean, for me, a lot of those genres and things that I enjoy, I got to like put them all in a yummy kind of, messy sundae with all kinds of toppings. And it was really, really fun. And it also, I think, kind of created a world and universe. And when you come to the end, we did sort of make edits, hopefully, to having a sequel, and possibly even a prequel. So,
I
yeah.
needed to hear that.
Okay, good. Good.
That was one of our questions.
I'm so glad. Good. Yeah, because I think a lot of fun can be had, you know, going forward and going back, and you're always going back and forward anyway in this book. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I could see. I mean, we both were like, there's possibilities here. Do you think there's going to be another one? You could even like spin off on it, or
Mm-hmm.
I need this to be a movie.
From your lips. Yeah. I think, hopefully something will happen, and we're actually hoping more limited series because there's so much you can do. I mean,
Yes.
you could even think of each voyage as like its own episode, or
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. So send all the good vibes out there and we'll see what happens. But
Oh,
that'd
I
be
mean, I thought it was very cinematic. Like
thank you.
uh, when I don't want to ruin anything for anybody because when you read it, you're there in it. Like when the object comes and then, there's a box and then your hand, and I don't want to
Yeah.
say anything like
I
when
think
I
it's
see,
okay to talk about like the voyages, except for the very last one, right? The question
Mhm.
mark one,
yeah.
which we won't
Yep.
discuss.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's okay to talk about the other ones, because it's a fun. You get to go to 19th century France. You get to go to, I love the 70s. So you get to go to 1970s, Central California, and 1920 Chicago. And yeah, so it's kind of escapist and transportive. Um, it was for me too, as a writer. Yeah. So but yeah, there's a lot of genres in there. It's funny. I intentionally do not look at like Goodreads and NetGalley, but I can see all the genres. It's like time travel, historical fiction, suspense, thriller, fantasy. There was something like definitely sci-fi comes up. There was
Mm-hmm.
another one that came up the other day, and I was like, really? Okay. throw it all out there. It's not a police drama, though. That,
No.
yeah.
So the way that you write this book, I mean, when Teresa called me and said that she was reading it, I stopped what I was reading, picked it up, started reading it
Oh my
again,
God.
so we could read it at the same time, and just it was totally immersive for me.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
I can still picture, the buildings, the scenes in the book, and as I was there, I was experiencing them. So,
Great.
and you said you wrote this over a relatively short amount of time. So,
Kind of fast. Yeah.
yeah. So how does your writing style work?
Yeah, I'm not they call it I'm not a plotter, which is someone who writes like really long outlines. I have great friends that do like the most massive outlines, and I'm like, I'm not that person. I'm not a full-on pantser, which means I could just like start writing a word and just go. I take a lot of notes in my phone. And so I kind of start coming up with things, and I knew there had to be, I wanted three objects. An editor that I'd been working with sent me a picture just randomly of the perfume bottle, the
Mhm.
19th century France one. And so that I was like, ah, okay. Okay, cool. And so I was like, that's good. And then I knew I wanted 70s. I didn't want to do a lava lamp because I thought that was like a little too, on the nose. And so I asked my husband, I was like, hey, what do you think? And he kind of looked around for a while. He was like, oh, how about these windshield wiper sunglasses? And I was like, yes, that's awesome. Um, and then I want to go back to sort of the original grain of this idea from Etsy. And I didn't want to do a martini glass. I wanted something else. So I kind of looked around and found like they used to do beautiful enamel work on like lighters and cigarette cases. And I was like, oh, that's so posh. So I found it that way. But the way I wrote the book originally, I was like, well, I'll write all the Greta stuff, in our, you know, present time, and then I'll go back and I'll do the voyages. And then I was like, no, I want to write it beginning to end, and I want the experience of the voyages at the same time that Greta has them. Because I had the feeling that doing that, I discover things that I wouldn't have discovered otherwise, and I want to discover them with Greta. Um, and and I knew that would probably inform the like bigger arc of the story, which it did. And it was also good because it kind of gave me Greta breaks, because sometimes I was like, okay, I need a little moment away from Greta. So, I came to the end of that first part, and then we go on the first voyage to France. And I was like, now I'm ready for Greta again. And I came back to her. And but that was that process. There was some research throughout, but I try not to get too bogged down with it. Like I try to have just enough, facts and correct cultural references and things that it makes the reader feel like they're there without feeling like they're in a history class, you know. And so that's how I wrote it. And it was really fun because I really like so many things I discovered um, while I was writing. Like I'll just you'll know what I'm talking about. Like all the video camera stuff, the trail camera stuff, had no idea about that until it happened. I was like, oh, that's good. Ezra, the love interest, I can say that.
Mhm.
Had no idea until I was in the alley with her, and I was like, oh, when you're puking in alley, which I had not done, like it would be really embarrassing to like meet a very, very handsome man, like while that's happening. And so I was like, okay. And so that's kind of how those things happen. So it was fun for me in that way.
I have a Greta question.
Yeah.
So in researching and getting ready for this interview, I find that you have a background in comedy.
Yes.
So, and Greta is hilarious.
Isn't
Like,
she? Thank
oh,
you.
I loved her. So, did you
Thank
channel?
you.
There's my dog. Did you
That's okay.
channel yourself while making Greta?
I'm certainly like kind of snarky, but I'm not Greta. Although my mom, who's Swedish, is like, all I hear is your voice when I read Greta. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, I can only write speculative stuff, and I can't do it without at least some sense of humor throughout. I just can't help it. It's like it's not necessarily intentional, um, but to me, it's like a it's a release. Like even in real life, there are times when I've totally, it's been like a sad moment and I'll have to like say something, to like break the ice. Like there was a boyfriend that I'd been dating for a long time. We were out to dinner and it was really sad and we'd broken up and he was telling me he saw someone else and it was very sad. And we're at the seafood place and I was like crying and I was like, but this crab is really great. And so anyway, so to answer your question, she couldn't be this socialite kind of nightmare without being self-reflective to and seeing that it's not just this person, like she can see herself. Like I needed her to have self-awareness. Um, and with self-awareness comes humor. And I think in any situation, there's always humor. I had an editor once, it was before I had even an agent. She was reading one of my books, which we actually still really like. And she was like, "This is a thriller. You can't have any humor in it. None." And I was like, "And now we're done working together." I was like, because that's not me. It's unnatural. So I always like, and you need like a little plucky comic relief every once in a while, because we are dealing with heavy topics, we're dealing
Mhm.
with, I mean, the whole book is about dying, but we're dealing with grief and trauma and addiction, and these are serious things, and you could get really weighted down if it wasn't, you couldn't like step out and just have a little laugh every once in a while.
Yeah, as I was reading it, if Greta wasn't Greta, the book would have been completely different because she spends quite a bit of time by herself too. And
Yes.
so there's a lot of internal dialogue where she's still
Hmm.
snarky, and I just had to laugh
Oh,
at all those
thank you.
comments.
I'm so glad you're saying that because I had a couple editors offering on the book, and the other one, she will not be named, but one of her comments was, "Oh, Greta, can't we make her a really nice girl who just made a mistake once?" And I was like, and I had to kind of smile and nod because, you want a couple people offering. I didn't want to be like, "That's
Mhm.
the worst idea I've ever heard." So I was like, I'll think about that. Um, but I was like, I knew that couldn't be it. That wasn't the way it had to go. So it makes me happy to hear you say that.
And she does kind of, I mean, she evolves through the story. The voyages
Yeah.
change who she is. They change her
Yes.
perspective on a lot of things.
Yes. Yep. And I wanted that, and because, if she's just like sweet, kind, happy, like where's she gonna go from there? It's better to start like from a low spot and have this place to build toward or some kind of self-realization or making the past right. And it also touches on something that's important in the book, which is, different versions of ourselves, Um, I always think about these touchstone moments, in life where, it's like, oh, if I didn't make that choice, I would never have met this person and I would never have done this. And what would that person have been like? Um, and I just find it infinitely fascinating. Like, I mean, be it fate or just, I mean, that's just the way the way life is. But it's very interesting how you can kind of look back and say, like, okay, if I, would I have met my husband if I hadn't, moved to New York at this time or any number of things. And so thinking about that, the very first line says this version of Greta Davenport doesn't care that she's about to drive drunk. So I knew that, and I also knew the very last line, the one before the epilogue, which sort of mirrors that. So it sort of bookends it and shows the importance of these versions of ourselves in life.
Yeah, I mean, this book just is one that after I finished it, I just had to sit and think about it. And the more I thought about it, the more connections I made about the ending and
Mm,
how that happens. And that's one thing we want to talk about. But
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah, we'll dance around it.
yeah. Yeah, but just the more I thought about it, the more the genius came out of the book
Oh,
as as far as like, the little hidden things that you don't really notice when you're reading, but after you go, oh, that was back there.
Right, right. Yes. Yeah, little kind of breadcrumbs. And
Hmm.
sometimes there were things that I didn't even know. And then as I got to another point later, I was like, oh, this is happening because of this, you know.
Hmm.
So that was fun for me too, to explore that. Um, yeah, I'm glad it made you think and I know a lot of people are like, what's with the ending?
Yeah,
But
this
that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be like, it's okay. Whatever you can see it there. Because I honestly feel, I mean, I kind of know, but I honestly feel that there are many, it's open to interpretation, and that's okay. And I would rather have people mad, happy, excited, wanting to discuss it than like, meh, the ending was okay. Like,
Yep.
so if it makes people think and question and maybe argue about things, like, do you know the author Angie Kim? Um,
Yes. Yep.
she blurbed me and she was like, I was having an argument with Kathleen Barber. She was like, about the ending. I said one thing, and when I see you, we're going to talk about it. And she said another. And I was like, good, good. That's what I want.
I think Sherry and I could have come up with something. We both could
Yes.
see it going completely two different directions.
Yep.
Like, and that really makes it really cool. The whole concept behind this book is just so original.
Oh, thank you.
Really liked it. And I'm not a blurb reader either. And so it's really funny. My daughter, I said, go back there and pick what's in the stack and pick something that's next. And that's
Mm.
how yours came up in the order that it did. And she was like, Mom,
Oh,
this is hilarious. She read like the first paragraph. She said, Here you go, Mom. And she was right. I mean, it just fit perfect for what
oh,
I.
that's great. Well, I love also that it appealed to a younger person too. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, she is ready to read it next. So she's
okay.
just finished taking her NCLEX, so it's time now. She gets to get back into reading for fun. So,
Okay. Oh, good. Good.
um, which of the characters was the hardest for you to write?
Hmm. I think maybe just because of it being so much further in the past, I think Zéphyrine in 19th century France. I just from a personal and character thing that wasn't hard, but I really want to make sure I got the titles that people use right and just the environment. And obviously, it's like they don't have electricity or and I had to like I spent like hours one day trying to figure out like what kind of horse carriage they're in, because you see all kinds of conflicting things and I'm like, okay, no, no. So that stuff was a little more challenging, and then the hierarchies of people that work within like a mansion and those that are there, and a little bit of like the further backstory about how these awful you know rich aristocracy came to be. um and so I tried to again come up with those kind of details that were enough to make you feel like you were there, but to liberate everyone to just be within the characters and not worry so much about like, whale bones and corsets and you know, um although I'm sure there'll be notes like people have been like, you got the wrong kind of tree for that area of France, or something like that. She was so in that way she was maybe the hardest. And I think kind of Lassie, the wannabe serial killer, was maybe the most fun for me. Because it's just so off the wall. And I want it to be, and he's like really sad and pathetic, and I just love sort of all the 70s stuff, and I wanted his actual death to be kind of very unexpected. Um, and the one that maybe gave me most heartache comes later. And yeah, so that's I guess I have to stop there. But the 1920s, like aging silent film star, like I loved her too. I really, I can honestly say that I just really enjoyed everyone. But I think maybe like a little bit of the burden of some of the research for the first for Zephyrin was the most challenging.
So you write speculative fiction thrillers. What kind of books do you like to read?
I kind of read everything, but I really do love speculative. I do. Like, I mean, I read everything because, you kind of have to, and I want to read what friends have, written and that sort of thing. Um, but uh, but I think maybe the things that affect me the most, have a speculative element. Like I know everyone's, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. It's a lot of horror and there's some more hit or miss than others, but then there are things that are really like, just sort of like beautiful moments. Like even though his writing can be sort of like it can be really lovely. Right now, I'm reading a really good. It's speculative. It's by Octavia Butler, called Kindred. It was written in 1975, and it's actually a time travel book, and it's kind of a gut punch, but but it feels so oddly modern. Like I don't feel like I'm reading a book that was like written in 1975. It's great. So, I'm kind of all over the map. But my favorites are like something weird going on. I'm not like a high fantasy person. Like I can appreciate it. I think maybe high fantasy, maybe like serious sci-fi, I prefer to watch um, than read. But I love, mysteries and thrillers um, and sometimes I love like literary fiction that just makes you cry your eyes out. And, you know, um, although I've been trying to find like things that pull me out of reality a little more lately. So,
Yeah.
So I did find a little tidbit of information about you in a horror movie with your dad.
oh my gosh.
Okay,
Yes.
spill
Yep.
it. I got to hear about it.
Okay. So I come from, an acting background. And mainly I've done like commercial voiceover stuff and comedy. Um, and my dad, he's sort of the one that got me into scary stuff as a kid, totally brought me to like the movies you're not supposed to bring like 8-year-olds to. Um, and like he'd take me to, there was this Dairy Queen, roadside Dairy Queen next to a big graveyard, and he'd tell like scary stories. So that's where like all that got in here. Um, but he wrote a novel, I think it was in the late 70s with someone else. It was a horror novel called Death Bite, and they actually made a terrible movie out of that. Um, but then he wrote this uh, screenplay with some other people called 13th Child. Um, do not do not go out. I cannot give you those 90 minutes of your life back, but I can tell you about it. I kind of want to write a funny book about someone like that, like being in a crappy movie that her dad made. I think could be kind of funny. And but yeah, so it's about the Jersey Devil, and I'm like a police investigator. Um, and and it was just a crazy experience, like just crazy. Did you ever see the movie Blue Lagoon with like Brooke? Okay, Christopher Atkins, he was my love interest in that. Yeah. And then Cliff Robertson, who won an Oscar, he was in it too. He was like the eccentric guy who had like tarantulas all over his house or something. I don't know. But yeah. So here's a funny tidbit about that. So terrible, terrible movie. This one guy in a New Jersey newspaper wrote a just scathing review about it. And it was so funny, like it cracked me. I wrote to him and I was like, that was the funniest thing. It was a riot, and you're absolutely right. It's terrible. And we kind of became friends and started communicating after that. So I was like, I'm with you. I'm not going to argue. It's bad. There it is. But don't rent it. Yeah. I have platinum blonde hair too, which is interesting. that like it couldn't be platinum blonde enough for them. They're like, no, blonder.
So how do you go from that to writing?
Um, well, in college, I mean, I've always been a writer to a degree. Like as a kid, I had a little green spiral notebook. I wrote little poems and things, but there was also the acting. Like my first role was as Violet Beauregard in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in the fifth grade. It was a blast. But so both of those things, like to me, had always been kind of, you know, together. And I think I always thought, okay, I want to be an actor. I want to be an actor. In college, my major was English and creative writing, but I took all the theater classes. I was in plays. Um, my English professors actually wanted me to get my MFA in writing. And I was like, I'm going to be on SNL, so forget it. And so I went to New York and, continued with the comedy stuff and started doing voiceovers and commercials. And then I started writing. I'd write a lot of sketches. I wrote one-woman shows, a couple screenplays. And then it really wasn't until 2019 that I decided I wanted to get back to narrative fiction. And that's when I started writing my first novel. So I've written four since then. So and it's like I never thought that I'd be able to write something that long. Like in college, I'd always write short stories. I was like, well, novel's impossible. But now I'm older and maybe I have the patience for it. I didn't have then.
So the Found Objects Society is a secret society.
Mhm.
Other than that, you can't use that. What kind of secret society would you want to be a member of?
Oh, oh, that's a good one. Maybe like a secret society where you can be like a jewel thief.
Oh, that's good.
You can like put on a black cap, black turtleneck, and sneak into houses and, you know, steal jewels like Pink Panther, like lift a, yeah, I love caper movies, like those kind of heist movies. So maybe something where, you never know who's doing it, so no one could ever really get arrested because you don't know. They all leave the same, whatever trademark.
In my head, I'm a spook or a spy.
Yeah, yeah, that's fun too. I
I
mean,
would love to do that.
it has to be sneaky though,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I
Mhm.
mean, something sneaky, like just under the law or yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, being a spy too is exciting. Like I love all that stuff. Yeah.
So you said that, you were working on a couple books before this one, and then this one
Mhm.
kind of, jumped ahead of the rest of them. So
Yeah.
this book comes out next week.
Yes.
How is your life different already, even before the book comes out, than it was, when you started writing the book?
Right. I'd say it's very it's different in a lot of ways. I think especially in just the confidence of being a writer. Like validation is kind of a weird word because it makes it sound like you're like, "Oh, please love me." Because it's not necessarily that. It's that, "Hey, I can do this. People like it. I should keep doing this." And now it's like, kind of come to the fore, like I'm doing interviews and podcasts all the time and talking about what's next. And so instead of it sort of being okay, this is what I'm trying to do over here, it's sort of, slid up to the front and I'm like, okay, I'd really like this to be the thing, you know, what I am here in this. I tell my husband, I'm like, how many acts of my life have you been through at this point? Like, I think one of the very first things he ever did was come to a comedy club in New York City, at Caroline's Comedy Club, and I was doing this bit, and I was literally dressed in male drag, and I used to do this character that was essentially my dad. I'd come out as my dad, and and yet he still like like had a beard on and everything. And here we are, like 28 years later. So, but it has changed in that way. I feel like really like this is my place. These are my people. I love the community of authors. Everyone's so generous and supportive. Yeah, I just love it. Like I really feel like I found I like I've found other lanes in the past, but this really feels like, the one that could maybe take me take me through to the sunset, drive me through my mural, my trompe l'oeil mural on the wall, and you know, that's what I'm hoping.
I've heard authors have a hard time identifying themselves as authors or writers,
Yeah.
whether they're just beginning or whether they're well established. And you kind of talked about how that was, you kind of moved into that for you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, I mean, uh, I think kind of what you're talking about a bit is like imposter syndrome to a degree. Um, I'm weird in that I feel like remarkable amounts of being an imposter, and then this weird like confidence that I shouldn't have that maybe comes from the acting thing. Like I really don't just like wait, how are these two things working together? But I'm like, this is awesome. I can do this. And I'm like, who the heck am I? Like, oh wow. So uh yeah, it's it's hard, and I think you have to remind yourself. Um, say like someone bought your book, people are reading your book, they're liking your book. You're lucky to have the anxieties now that you have, and by that I mean me. Like I'm not worrying about, oh, I have to get an agent anymore, or I have to get that book deal. Now there are other anxieties like will everyone show up to my events or whatever, but those are good things to have. And so anxieties don't necessarily go away, they just find a new home, take a new shape, really.
What events are you going to this year?
Well, I have my own tour, which is really exciting and fun. But I will be at Thriller Fest in early May. Um, these are just sort of like the bigger conferences I'm talking about now. I'm going to be at the Gaithersburg Book Festival in May, mid-May. I may or may not be going to Hampton's Whodunit again in April. Um, I'm definitely going to BoucherCon in Calgary. That'll be fun, right?
Mhm.
That's like Calgary, October. Will there be snow? I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but then I just have my tour events, and I'm very lucky to be in conversation with some great people, sort of all around the country. Uh, there's one that I'm particularly looking forward to. It's going to be me and Ashley Winstead and Danielle Girard together at Murder by the Book in Houston. Um, so I'm going to make us a little. I stole like a Charlie's Angels from the '70s uh, like picture with everyone like that,
Mhm.
and I'm going to try and pop our heads on make that the little like come to our thing. Um, but yeah, so those will be fun, and it'll be cool to talk to readers. It's just so I can't tell you both how meaningful it is to hear how the book has affected you and how you think about it and that you enjoyed it. And not everyone is going to, and that's totally fine. That's the way life is. But it's really interesting to listen to readers and hear what they took away from it because there are things that I didn't even realize. Like sure, I wrote about grief and trauma and addiction, but I wasn't necessarily like I'm bearing down on these themes. I knew they were there, but they've really sort of bubbled to the top for a lot of people, and especially the addiction stuff. Um, so I find that really interesting, and it's cool the different interpretations people can have.
Yeah, so that kind of leads to because I know when I posted my review, we talked a little bit about book clubs on Instagram,
Hmm.
um, and you're gonna have book club questions, which I think is going to be amazing because this will be perfect for book clubs.
Yeah,
Do you have the ability to join any book clubs virtually if that's something people are interested in?
I would love it. Yeah, absolutely. We NetGalley just put together a big book club kit for us, which was fun because I got to throw in a lot of fun stuff. I have like um, drinks like that are the Found Object Society drinks. I have like mani petty recommendations for colors. We have this thing called What's Your Found Object, where people write, if you could go on a Found Object Society type voyage, like what would your object be and why? Um, And but yes, to answer your question, I would love to. Like if I physically am available to go, but virtually, I would love it. Absolutely. I really enjoy talking about writing um, and and talking about the book and interacting with people about it. I think it's fun.
My
But
dog has now brought 4 bones, so clearly the dog bone bag is wide open because he keeps on bringing them in here. And he's like laying them up against the ring light now.
oh my God, what kind of dog?
He's a lab. He is a
Oh,
90-pound chocolate lab.
Doe.
Yeah. And he's from the side of the road. So I never thought he was going to be this big, but there he's a lot.
What a good boy. They're so sweet.
Don't egg him on. Don't.
Okay. The two cats we have are sleeping for the moment. Like before, they were all over the place. So,
Well, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to us. It's we didn't get too off track. We didn't get,
No,
no,
no, we didn't.
we could have gone crazy.
yeah, it happens. Thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on here and talking to us. I appreciate it.
thank
And
you both so
Thank
please
much.
you.
hurry and get us the second one.
Yeah, from your lips. Yes, I'll be
Yes.
sure to talk to my editor and be like, TikTok.
And
Yeah.
if you need somebody to call Hollywood, all right, I
Yeah,
will do it. I will just go ahead. I will
just a big
protest.
megaphone.
I'll do it.
That
Yeah.
usually works. Oh wait. Yes, here's some money. Here, make the series.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, if you need me to go out there and do something completely crazy, I will probably do it.
I'll
She
join
will do
you.
it.
I'll dress in drag, whatever I need to do,
Just to make a scene, say,
Yeah,
"Found
to make a
objects
general
society."
mess.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. And I will talk to you both soon.